In a private room, I pleaded humbly, ignoring the mocking glances around me.
James, please, come back with me.
My husband, James, stood up stiffly, his face ashen, and walked out the door, leading me into another private room.
I have no interest in celebrating our so-called wedding anniversary with you. Here, take this for shopping.
He pulled out a bank card from his wallet and threw it on the table in front of me. Without lingering for a second, he turned to leave.
James. If I told you that my broken promise back then wasn't for myself, would you believe me?
Would you believe me? Was it for me then?
I slumped my shoulders in despair. The alarm rang. Midnight, the end of our wedding anniversary. It also meant the time I had set to let go had arrived.
James.
Before I could finish my sentence, my phone beeped again. Looking down, I saw a photo of a man and a woman embracing in bed. The man in the photo was my husband.
Let's get a divorce.
I made up my mind and let go of his shirt.
The password is 8 zeros.
He completely disappeared from my sight. I looked down at the card, my lips pressed together bitterly. I quickly chased after him and stopped him at the elevator, pressing a divorce agreement into his hands.
I'm serious about the divorce. I don't want a penny from the James family.
I heard a thud as the agreement was thrown into the trash can.
Get a grip on reality before you go crazy.
Don't worry, I'm well aware of my situation. It's too late to handle the paperwork now, so let's do it at 9 tomorrow morning. Don't be late.
With that, I walked out ahead of him. Downstairs, I leaned against the wall, panting heavily as if someone had deflated me. I wiped my face, tears streaming down.
Sigh, I spending 4 years and 15 days proving that a man could never love me was probably the worst deal I've ever made in my life.
The next morning, I went to the civil affairs office early. I waited until 11, but James never showed up. Knowing he was busy, I went to his office, hoping to resolve the matter today. As I approached the building, I saw him standing by a car, opening the door with one hand and shielding the top with the other. A woman carefully got into the car with his help. It was the woman James had always longed for.
I've been waiting for you. No matter how busy you are, it doesn't take long to get divorced.
The company has several important projects under evaluation. We can't afford any negative news.
Before I could say anything, James's assistant ran over, saying there was important work for him. They hurried away. I didn't want to wait any longer. I could only text him, asking him to give me some dignity for the sake of our 4-year marriage. I also included a meeting time. In the afternoon, I arrived at the civil affairs office right on time and saw James. Even though we were about to divorce, I was still captivated by him.
I've already signed it. You just need to sign, and we can proceed.
James hesitated for a moment, then signed without saying anything. The paperwork was processed quickly.
You have a 30-day cooling-off period. Either of you can cancel the divorce within these 30 days.
Can we skip the cooling-off period and get the divorce certificate directly?
No.
I could only look at James. He said nothing and walked out.
Well, Mr. James, see you in a month.
James got into the car and slammed the door shut. The car drove away, leaving a cold breeze.
Even after the divorce, he's still so petty. How boring.
I stood there for a while, then made a call.
I'm divorced. Come pick me up.
In less than 10 minutes, a red mini sports car pulled up in front of her, and a spirited woman jumped out.
Boss, you really got divorced?
Yes.
Lily opened the passenger door and got in. Rebecca, her best friend, jumped into the driver's seat.
Good for you. You were such a proud person. And you let that James family grind you down. They never appreciated you, always thinking you were taking advantage of them, always targeting you. I couldn't stand it anymore.
Lily pressed her lips together and said nothing. Rebecca saw that she was feeling down and hugged her tightly.
If you want to cry, just let it out.
After a moment in Rebecca's embrace, Lily wiped the moisture from her eyes and smiled.
Today is a good day. I want to go to the amusement park to celebrate.
Half an hour later, at an amusement park in Cloud City, Lily sat in a drop tower, feeling the rapid descent of free fall and screaming loudly. She went on to ride the human centrifuge, the high-flying car, the freefall slide, and other thrilling rides. Images of her 10 years with James flashed through her mind like a slideshow. The thrilling rides were indeed the best therapy. After a round of them, she felt much better. Wiping away the last tear, she completely shut James out of her heart.
Long time no see.
With Rebecca's company, Lily went to a clothing store and changed her outfit from head to toe. She also transformed her plain, long, straight hair into golden waves.
Now, this is the real you.
Lily looked at herself in the mirror, elegant, beautiful, and confident. No one could ever associate the timid, silent, miserable Mrs. James of the past 4 years with her now. After all the fuss, it was already 7 in the evening. Hungry, they went to a restaurant.
You wait here for a bit. I'll go find the owner to make some special dishes.
Rebecca patted Lily's shoulder and then turned to leave. Lily walked towards the private room they had reserved earlier and saw a couple coming towards her. It was James and his old flame, Emily.
Sarah, you must be here to see James.
Lily was about to deny it when Emily's voice came again.
Sorry, I just asked James to pick something up for me at the Civil Affairs office. I didn't expect it would cause your divorce.
Ha! So even the divorce was thanks to Emily. Lily silently mocked herself.
Luckily, there's a waiting period now. James, if there's any misunderstanding, explain it clearly, okay?
Emily said softly, pushing James before turning and walking away gracefully.
I didn't come to see you. It was purely a coincidence.
This playing hard to get won't work on me.
James looked down at Lily, not believing she really wanted a divorce. He thought she was just using the waiting period to play tricks.
Playing hard to get? Think whatever you want.
With that, Lily walked straight into the private room. James had expected her to argue, but hearing her response, he paused and turned to look at her. All he saw was her back. After dinner, Rebecca had a mysterious look on her face.
It's not enough to just look good. You need to feel good too. I want our Queen Lily to make a complete comeback.
Lily was puzzled by Rebecca's talk of looking and feeling good until Rebecca took her to the largest nightclub in Cloud City.
Are you sure you want me to dance like that?
You've done it before. What's there to be afraid of? With your skills, those professional dancers will have to step aside.
Rebecca made Lily laugh, and she took a relatively conservative outfit.
I'll stick to classical dance.
After changing, Lily started dancing on stage. Under the intense music, her movements were graceful and beautiful. The outfit perfectly showcased her elegance. She danced lightly, like a fairy descending to the mortal world.
Damn, what's going on? Someone's dancing classical in a nightclub.
But the dance matches the music perfectly.
Wow, so enchanting, so professional.
The initial critics were won over by Lily's professional dance moves, their eyes widening in amazement. The other dancers on stage were captivated by her graceful movements and stepped aside.
That's my boss. Always the brightest star wherever she goes.
Lily was lost in the dance, oblivious to the gazes around her. After 4 years of not dancing, all her pent-up emotions exploded. At this moment, she just wanted to let it all out. Her movements were soft and alluring, yet light and agile. As she got more into it, she jumped onto a pole and started dancing. Her pole dance wasn't as provocative as the usual ones, but it was absolutely refreshing. Watching her effortlessly complete one difficult move after another, the audience erupted in cheers.
Hey, is she a new dancer? She's got some skills.
In the audience, James and a few friends walked over, one of them immediately drawn to the figure on stage.
That woman looks like your wife.
At the Civil Affairs office, I was eager to finalize the divorce.
Can we skip the cooling off period and get the divorce certificate directly?
The staff shook their head.
No, I'm afraid that's not possible.
I glanced at James, who remained silent and walked out. I signed the acknowledgement form reluctantly, knowing James would never regret this divorce. It was merely a delay in getting the certificate.
Well, Mr. James, see you in a month.
Before I could finish, James got into the car and slammed the door shut. The car drove away, leaving a cold breeze. I shook my head helplessly.
Even after the divorce, he's still so petty. How boring.
After standing there for a while, I made a call.
I'm divorced. Come pick me up.
In the quiet office, the tension was palpable as I approached the desk.
Can we skip the cooling off period and get the divorce certificate directly?
No, I'm afraid that's not possible.
The staff shook their head firmly. I glanced at James, but he said nothing and walked out of the building. Left with no choice, I signed the acknowledgement form.
James never regrets anything. This delay is just an inconvenience.
After it was over, I hurried to catch up with James.
Well, Mr. James, see you in a month.
Before I could finish, James got into the car and slammed the door shut. The car drove away, leaving a cold breeze in its wake. I shook my head helplessly.
Even after the divorce, he's still so petty.
I stood there for a moment, then made a phone call.
I'm divorced. Come pick me up.
At the Civil Affairs office, Sarah stood impatiently.
Can we skip the cooling off period and get the divorce certificate directly?
The staff shook their head firmly.
No, I'm afraid that's not possible.
Sarah sighed and glanced at James, who remained silent and walked out of the office.
To herself, he's never going to regret this divorce. It's just a delay.
She signed the acknowledgement form and hurried after James.
Well, Mr. James, see you in a month.
James got into his car and slammed the door shut, leaving without a word. The car drove away, leaving a cold breeze in its wake.
Shaking her head, whispering, even after the divorce, he's still so petty. How boring.
Standing there for a while, Sarah made a call.
I'm divorced. Come pick me up.
At the divorce office, tension hung in the air as Lily approached the staff.
Can we skip the cooling off period and get the divorce certificate directly?
No, I'm afraid that's not possible.
Lily turned to James, seeking any sign of emotion. He remained silent and walked out.
I had no choice but to sign the acknowledgement form.
James showed no regret. He was merely waiting for the inevitable.
Well, Mr. James, see you in a month.
Before she could finish, James got into the car and slammed the door shut, driving away and leaving a cold breeze behind.
Even after the divorce, he's still so petty. How boring.
Lily stood there for a while, then made a call.
I'm divorced. Come pick me up.